Well, so what's really interesting is seeing how a lot of this younger generation is using their imagination to do digital missions, right?
Yeah.
We have access to all of these people. So, how are we using Instagram and things like that to maybe find some of these unreached people or people that are in hard to access groups or where it may be really sensitive for them? Like, if I was, in a Muslim context, to be able to go out and seek information um, uh, outwardly is dangerous, but doing it on my phone, you don't know whether I'm paying my taxes or doing homework or reading the paper or chatting with my son or daughter, right? There's no visibility there. So we have this isn't just something that's affecting Christianity, it's also affecting the other religions of the world where they're able to go out and find other sources and seek truth. So this is a beautiful moment, and Gen Z has an imagination for it in ways we couldn't even hope or imagine. So yeah, it they're still connecting with people. They're just doing
Yeah.
it differently. So this younger generation, just their imagination, I can't even begin to understand what their capacity is. And I think that's the danger of reading the research that we come up with at Barna and other places is as older generations, we can't, what we need to realize in looking at this data is, whoa, we are really different than this younger generation. And I need them at the table.
Yeah.
I do what I call vibe checks all the time around Urbana. I have a group of Gen Z students that I will send things to, and I go, "Tell me what you think," or "Give me insight," because I I can't see it on my own, right? As much as I try to think that I've got it, I don't, and I'm somebody who's always trying to stay up on things, right? And so the danger would be if I read the data and go, "Oh, the data tells me this about Gen Z, therefore that we need to do this." That
Right.
isn't always right. We can misread what the data is telling us. We have to be in relationship with the generation in
That's so
order to
good.
really be able to take advantage of it. And here's the beauty about Gen Z, they are what I call a generation of best practices. They understand that they have access to data, but that wisdom is what they lack. So they are very interested in engaging older people that are
Hmm.
willing to come alongside them and not be dogmatic, not be black and white about things, not tell them what to do, but to engage them as whole beings in trying to make sense of the world. And so I've had a lot of older leaders say, especially boomer leaders who had experience with millennials, go, I just had the most incredible experience with my younger employees. We
Yeah.
got them together. I started talking to them about leadership, and then they started asking me questions, and they couldn't write fast enough. And they go, I've not had this experience with young, usually they're challenging me and pushing back. And that happens too. But if you have any sense of humility and intellectual honesty, like in your being, this generation will respond to that and wants to tap in to that. So it's an exciting time.
It really
And we,
is.
and those of us that are older have to be careful not to carry some of our judgments of other
Yeah.
generations or other young encounters and transfer them onto what is emerging right now.
Yeah, you're so right. That's been my experience as well, Mark, is they they might sure have some of that skepticism and some of those questions and some of that curiosity, but it's when you really engage them in heart dialogue, I've found that they have great questions. And if you care about them,
Incredible passion.
yes, they do. And they really do. If you care about them as a person and show that you're willing to listen with empathy, they do want to know what you have to say. They just don't want to be preached at and talked down to. They know they have something valuable to offer, and they do. And so I think when you can have that symbiotic relationship, it can be so fun. I have some of my favorite conversations are with Gen Zers. I mean, I was talking to my nieces the other day, and gal, did they ask good questions? You know, we have these stereotypes, and we read things in statistics, like you said, and it's good to be informed. But I think that if we use those to limit our thinking about them rather than get curious, we'll miss out on some really good stuff. So, I wanted to go back to something you were saying earlier. You were talking about one of the challenges for Gen Zers can kind of even be that fundraising space. At modern
Hmm.
day, that's important to us. That's what we do. We have a giving platform for missionaries. And there's kind of that joke that went around. There's a bunch of reels on it for a while too, and TikToks about how Gen Zs don't like making phone calls to schedule doctor appointments because they've, learned to communicate in such a different way. What would you say are some of the ways
My
that you
doctor,
see
by the way, I schedule my appointments with my doctor on Instagram, which is crazy, right?
on Instagram?
Like, there's
I
somebody
didn't even know
who's
you could do
totally
that.
figured it out. Yeah, yeah. Getting him on the phone is almost impossible. But if I go to Instagram, oh, easy peasy. So yeah, kind of funny.
Yeah, it's a real thing, and it's pretty funny. And it is like you were saying earlier, when they've been trained to communicate in one way, it can be hard to jump into something new. So in that fundraising space, as they're going on the mission field, or maybe they're already there and they're connecting with supporters, what are some of the ways that you see them being able to connect with supporters in a unique way that's working well?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of insight on that. I do know though that things like, do you allow them to be supported using crypto? A currency, you know what I mean? Like if your platform doesn't have that, you're probably missing out on some opportunities to get people funded. But that's a certain sector, right? That's a different, group. But at the same time, they are really effective at using media for that, and so we have to have those tools available. I mean, I remember my daughter, she would go out. She'd say, "Hey, I'll make a drawing of you if you'll support me. I'm trying to buy a guitar." And people were just giving her money online, and crowd supporting. And so we got to look for those innovators that are kind of like, figuring things out and then telling their stories so that they can inspire one another. One out of every four, Gen Zers wants to be an influencer, which means they're thinking about how they leverage platform and presence. And so I haven't seen a lot of like things personally to like build off of yet. But I think they're out there, and we're only going to see that multiply and increase as time goes on.
Hey, missionary friends, we are so glad you joined us today. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you'll be the first to know when a new episode drops. And click like and comment below. We love hearing what's resonating with you and what you'd like to hear more of.